Okay, it's great to meet you today, and today we're gonna have you as our guest. I am highly honored, and I believe the viewers are also honored highly for having
Okay,
you
thank you.
today as a guest. As is known, and I post on my YouTube, and we talked about before, you're a professor of mathematics. And we last time we talked about where you teach and your career and everything else. It was highly interesting. We had an Instagram live account. We had viewers, and right now we're going to only have the interview today, which is about the topic career in mathematics and some things about your career in mathematics today. So in general, okay, not necessarily about you or a specific kind of career. It's in general career in mathematics. And I would like you to talk about just the important points about career in mathematics. Why people should go in that career. Why do you think it's interesting? What are the benefits? What are the negative parts, the pros and cons, and everything else? I highly believe that today is a very important interview because mathematics, many people like to go into it, like to study, like to go to university, prosper in the career, but maybe they have some questions, maybe they're not sure about it, or they're in the career and you obviously have experienced that career for many, many years. So I would just like you to highlight the important things that you feel is important for a person who wants to prosper or in the career of mathematics. Okay, that's number one. Number two, I just want you to talk in the beginning to talk about yourself, just to let people to know about yourself. You're a professor of which university do you work in right now, and from which university did you graduate from? Just a nice kind of introduction. You did talk about it extensively last time, which was excellent and great, and I believe it was highly useful for people who like to know more about the career of mathematics and about you or about mathematics in general. So if you can just, a small introduction, and then afterwards we can start with the interview. Okay, so why don't we start with the introduction, a little bit about, where you are, professor of mathematics, where did you graduate from, and where do you live, and other things that you feel is important for other people to know.
Okay, thank you for the opportunity. I am a mathematics assistant professor of mathematics at Salali University. Salali University is one of the youngest universities in my country, Ethiopia. It is located 112 kilometers from the capital, Addis Ababa. And I studied my doctoral degree in Istanbul, Turkey, Sabanci University. And the area of specialization is analysis of differential equations. And after I was graduated in 2019, just before the COVID, the start of COVID. And afterwards, I have been involved in different research activities. I have publication in mathematics in different areas, even though my area of specialization is basically analysis of differential equations. I can work on wide areas of mathematics like combinatorics, functional equations, real functions, complex analysis, and so on. I spend most of my time reading and writing mathematical concepts, mathematical ideas, and I am also involved in teaching. I have 12 hours of lectures as a basic demand from my university, and sometimes there may be more tasks than this one, and I also engage in advising students, that is mentoring students, undergraduate students for their projects, and consultation hours for students, classroom teaching, reading and preparing academic materials, and so on. So this is my overall academic life. This is what it looks like.
Okay, excellent. That's great. Okay. Right now we want to go into the next part, which is basically just in general about the mathematics and about the career as in general. So the career of mathematics in general, basically. Okay. Um, so um, so basically, if anyone wants to go into the career, what are the most important things they should think about if they're, for example, in high school right now? So if for example there are students in high school and they're highly interested to to go into the career of mathematics. Okay, what should they what should they do basically? What are the things that they should do from now, or think about doing, or preparing, or what are things you feel like is important for them to know basically from now?
Okay, the main thing that it is there should be interest in the subject matter. They should have some motivation, intrinsic motivation, some interest in the subject matter, and they have some a good feeling about the subject matter. We have to work very well on students to have a good impression of the subject matter. It is a compulsory subject in most of studies. For example, in engineering courses, there are at least 4 or 5 courses. In some universities, it's more than that number of courses studied. And in other subjects like statistics, computer science, also in economics, that this subject is unavoidable. And it is always there. Therefore, one way or another way, a person is a professional person who is already in the university or going through university has an encounter in mathematics, and it is not something that they exclude. It's an integrated part of their study or their life. When we come particularly to the teaching profession or the mathematical subject, the students should have the tendency to work for more hours for digging the core ideas of the subject. They have to be motivated in discovering or getting new ideas from the already existing ideas and so on. If they are just expecting something to read from the book and then just write the same thing on the paper, that they are not for mathematics, because mathematics is a very diverse subject and it has some abstractions, so that classroom teaching is to some level, so that once a person's mind is molded, then the person can create its own expansion, or that is the outgrowth of the classroom teaching. But the very good thing is, the first thing is interest, and the other thing is hard working. Hard working, that is, they have to take significant amount of time to grasp the subject matter, at least to until they come to the level of some status of knowledge. Then they have to work very hard at the beginning stage, and then afterwards, I can say that it is something addictive. So once you have good interest in mathematics, it is unstoppable. That is, you always go forward with the subject, and this is.
Excellent. Okay, great. Excellent. Okay, let's move on to the next part. What if you are in university and you want to go into mathematics? Maybe you are, basically you want to go into it as a kind of maybe elective, or maybe you want to go to as a major, but it basically you are you're not mathematics. Okay, so are there anything important for them to know to go into mathematics change or to study it, to have an elective, for example, or to go into the field? Is there anything advice or anything important for them to know, or how does it go by?
Uh, there should not be, it is a continuous stream that they have some level of activities in the secondary school, for example. When they join the university, they build up on that knowledge of the secondary school. But if there is some gap in the previous studies, then to fill that gap, they may take lots of time and they cannot go with equally with other students. There will be a disastrous time for them, and so they have to grasp some basic. When they join the subject area of mathematics, they should ask that do I have a good background that is not to go back to dig and to fill the gap. They should not take significant time of their university studies. So that is the basic thing. So once this is achieved, there is no problem. Students can learn mathematics. The speed of learning may vary. Some students learn 80% of their study in classroom attendance. Some other learn some half or less than half of the subject matter in the classroom, and the remaining they will achieve after studying 2 or 3 times in out of classroom. So for this, in the students' activity level and talent may vary, but at whatever cost, if there is some interest and if there is some motivation and then if some task effort, then it is achievable. It can be grasped, and they can become a master of the subject.
Okay, excellent work. Excellent job. Okay, great. Why don't we right now move on to the next part? The next part, I believe, is very important. Basically, it's if you are in basically the field of mathematics, okay, in university, and you want to graduate. What are the different kinds of options you have for jobs? So basically here you have different kinds of jobs that is open for you as a mathematics graduate from university as bachelor degree. So for bachelor degree, what kind of options do you have, and what are the different fields and things you can do with basically a BS. It's a Bachelor of Science, right? A BS of Mathematics. Is there a BA of Mathematics? Yes, there is, right? Bachelor of
Yes,
Arts.
yes.
That's also an important point. So it's always BS, I believe. Is that correct? Bachelor of Science Mathematics. So it's like, I believe so.
Yes.
It's a kind of, yeah,
Yes,
actually, yes. It's where
there
you
is
find it arts.
Yes, BSc, there is BSc, and there is BEd, Bachelor of Education in Mathematics. The two are they agree on much of the contents, but Bachelor of Education is primarily it's about teaching methodology, how to teach students, because at that level the knowledge of mathematics is quite sufficient. They concentrate much on the teaching methodology, how to handle classroom, how to engage students in the teaching learning activities, how to prepare a good exam, tests, evaluation methods, and how to avoid stresses and how to control students' behavior and so on. Many more things are involved. And for example, if you've taken me, I'm basically designed or that is I am trained to be a high school mathematics teacher at this. I studied at Bikila University and with a Bachelor of Education.
Excellent.
And later I joined at Sabanci University for Masters of Science in Mathematics. And that is not much about methodology, but it is a subject matter. I studied pure mathematics, analysis, complex analysis, real analysis, functional analysis, integration and major theory, numerical methods, and so on. So there are also seminars, graduate seminars, and so on. In this course, it is more about abstract mathematics, that is pure mathematics. But when you take the science aspect of mathematics, it can be involved in different areas. For example, if you take financial mathematics, they study some stochastic processes, probabilities about stocks, shares, something. They can predict something. They can also do research about time series analysis and so on. So they can join as a support staff for different areas of different sectors. They can become a consultant, or that they can do researches, or they can do data analysis for the researchers, and so on and so on. So it is not restricted only for schools. Mathematics is a very wide subject. We take programming courses, we take MATLAB programming, Python programming. We have some computer science courses. We have some statistics courses also. And therefore we are versatile somewhat. We can join something. Of course, we may take some training or some additional things to update our service. For example, here in my country, the banking sector yearly hires lots of mathematics graduates. They give 2 or 3 months of training for them to cope with the banking environment and this additional training, and then they become part of the banking sector. So there are the branch of mathematics which you know as industrial mathematics, and especially these years, especially in Europe, they are more linked to applied mathematics, industrial mathematics, and so on. They are not too much about the pure aspect, because the pure aspect of mathematics has been developed very well in the early 19th, 20th, and even years. And so application and real life application is much more demanding.
Excellent. Okay, great. Thank you so much for the information. The information is priceless, and I believe that people will find it very, very helpful, because the major and the field is very, very important. Thank you so much for your information and for all these facts information about about the mathematics field if you graduate from university, because I believe it's very important. As I said, usually it's Bachelor of Science. So the next step would be for the master's and PhD. Now, before that, as a career, what are the different options, like besides just pure mathematics or professor? I know you talked about it, but just if you have mathematics, is it enough for you to go into, for example, maybe you want to go into medical school, or maybe you want to go into architecture, engineering, maybe you want to go into media or teaching, or maybe you want to go into different kinds of different kinds of fields that are not necessarily mathematics pure. So is it enough to have a mathematics degree basically to go into these fields? From your experience, is it enough? I know that you may not know you may not have that experience in the sense of, maybe you do. Do you feel like you're comfortable, Do you feel like because you're in the end you're a mathematics professor, and you graduate from the degree. So is it kind of like is the degree basically, is it enough to go into different fields or to go into different jobs that not necessarily are purely mathematics? That's my question.
Actually, most industries, most companies have interdisciplinary engagement. They are not rely only in one profession. For example, if you take research centers, in the research centers there are programming experts, there are computer programmers, there are statisticians, there are mathematicians, there are engineers involved in the sector, and everyone has a portion of his work in that areas. And so that one way is to work as a component, not for the whole system, but as some component that requires mathematics to be involved. That is one way. The other thing is that the other option is slight training, that is months or few months training to transit into another, to bridge into a new system may be given, and that is another option. Mathematicians can learn things very easily. It's not difficult for me. I can read, I can understand much of many of the literatures. Even if it is not mathematics, I can read and I can grasp. The reverse is not true. I'm not to exaggerate my area of specialization, but the reverse is true. Because when we challenge with our friends, I ask him to read and tell me the mathematics. And I also want to read and tell him subjects like readable subjects, more readable subjects without mathematics. I can manage that one very easily, but he cannot come. The problem is not his weakness, but as I have told you earlier, mathematics is just it's to be built from the scratch onwards. And so if there is a gap in grade 9, then the student cannot go to the next step. If a student couldn't grasp polynomial equations very well, he cannot progress to rational functions. If a person is not good in real numbers, then he cannot proceed to complex numbers and so on. So that it is like a bridge. That is not, you cannot take a slice of it and give the meaning. So it's something which is completely intertwined and built up. That's
Okay, excellent. These are really important points. Thank you so much for sharing with us. Right now, let's look at I think these are also other important points for people that want to go into mathematics. From your experience, what are the negative and positive things that you gained from the mathematics career? So if a person kind of is confused and wants to know, the positive and negative, the pros and cons, advantages, disadvantages of going in this career, what would you tell him or her?
there are some pros and cons. Yes, there are some. The first thing is the attitude of the students. If you are a teacher, you have to make the students, as far as it is a part of their course, they have no options. Any of them will take the course, but you don't know their heart. Most of them are not happy. Some of them are happy mathematics. Therefore, there are some anxieties and fear for mathematics. You have to avoid to carry such problems. This is one of the challenging aspects. People may not understand your real work. For example, I write research articles and I share with friends and I show with them, but they do not understand much of it. They cannot find the real achievement of my work. They question what is new here, and it is very challenging to explain to others. The same is true in the classroom teaching. It is very difficult. We always face challenges in teaching because there is a long history that mathematics is a challenge subject. This is not something that you can grasp and so on. But this is not true. You have to avoid this one. You have to make the students be engaged, involved in the subject matter. So one challenge is this one. The other one is in the job market, we are not paid much. Just the university instructors in our country is about just for living. That is about sustaining, and it's not extra things or something. Other professions of the same degree or similar level may earn much salary. This is one problem. The other problem is you may not have sufficient professionals to work with. That is not plenty of mathematicians. There are very highly prestigious mathematicians who are restricted to big universities in very developed nations, but in poor nations, the number of mathematicians is limited, and so that you may not find sufficient co-workers, supporters, collaborators, and so on. Such things are the weak sides. You can also mention many other weak sides. When we come to the strong sides, mathematics is endless. It's about numbers primarily, so that as numbers are infinite, mathematics is also infinite because as there are objectives then of study, then the study is also infinite. So mathematics is infinite. You have many things to work and many things to contribute. The other thing is it is interesting as compared to other subjects, other fields like chemistry, physics. Its cost is also less. It doesn't mean that it is completely cheap and without no cost. No, it may need computers, it may need softwares, it may need papers and some other facilities, but as compared to medicine or chemistry or physics, it does not need a world-class, big laboratory, very huge project and so on, so that you can work at least pure mathematics on paper, and so you can enjoy your work. And so
Okay,
it is also
I just want to wrap
applicable.
up. These are really important points. Thank you so much for sharing with us. I just want to wrap it up because we're almost done. Okay.
Okay.
Basically next week, hopefully we'll have another interview, and next week, we'll see if it will be live. Okay. This one is recorded and I'll upload it right away on the YouTube channel like we decided upon. So basically right now, just to wrap up, and hopefully we'll see each other next week and we'll have a live session. So for sure I'm going to post on YouTube as soon as possible, right when we decide upon the time and day, for the topic of our meeting, basically. Okay. So basically, if you can just wrap up with just one sentence or two about what you think personally is the most beautiful or the nicest thing you found in the mathematics career, something that you really liked from your career in mathematics.
The most beautiful, the most encouraging is that for me, for example, I haven't done research, but I am highly excited. I am very happy with the subject because this subject is when you take big mathematicians, big scientists in history, like Sir Isaac Newton. if you take Albert Einstein, even if they are physicists, on the other hand, they have contributed a lot to mathematics, and none of these big scientists have discouraged mathematics. When you, so for example, Lord Kelvin, as a physicist, says that you know something if you can express in numbers, you really know something or you understood something, if and only if you can express it numerically, mathematically, or you can formulate something as a mathematical formulation. Otherwise, there is some gap, according to Lord Kelvin. And so that many of mathematical philosophers like René Descartes, they are also mathematicians. Bertrand Russell, he's a philosopher, is also a mathematician. And so other philosophers, lawyers of the 17th, 18th, 19th century are involved in this subject. And then I am very happy to be in this area of study. That is one of my happiest aspects of enjoying this study.
Okay, thank you so much, and we'll hopefully see each other next week. Do you have anything you want to add? You feel is important for people to know about mathematics career before we leave? We have around 1 minute.
Not much, actually.
Yeah, it's great. Excellent. Thank you so much. The information was priceless. I believe people will find this interview very, very important, and very interesting, I believe, very exciting for them, in the sense of, usually people go into mathematics, they highly like things that are, in the formulas, in their own world of math, and also, that everything that has to do with it. And thank you so much for information about the different things that people who graduate from math, they can go into. If even if even if they if they graduate only from mathematics, that's fine. Actually, they can go into different fields that is related to it. So you're sharing different things about math also. Thank you so much, and hopefully we'll see you next week. Bye.
Okay, thank you. Okay.